15, my heart was set on learning. At 30, I stood. At 40, I no longer doubted. At 50, I understood what I had been given to do. At 60, my ear was a quiet thing. I could hear what someone else was telling me. And at 70, I could do what my heart wanted without straying from what was right. I am older than 70 now. I sit in a small room. Let me show it to you. You will be wondering what to call me. I will be Kong. Master Kong, if you prefer the title. Zhongni when my mother called me. Kong when I was a boy. The long Latin name that arrived 2,000 years after I died, I will not even pretend I have heard it. This is the room. Late life, after the road and after the return. The lamp is low. There is a low table, a mat across from me, a mat beside it. On the table there is a small bowl that has held a little plain rice. I am not very interested in finishing it. There is a copy of the old songs, what we called the Shijing, open at a page my mother used to hum, without knowing she was humming. There is a chin against the wall, the 7-string zither if you have not seen one. I played a single piece on it tonight before you came. If a pupil were to come to this door now, I would open it. I would let him sit on the mat. I would listen for the question, and I would answer slowly. I will tell you about this room. I will tell you about a road I walked for 14 years and never quite arrived on. And I will tell you about the words I did not write down myself, the words that lasted only because someone was in the room to hear them. I want to begin with a pupil at the door. I was born in a small state called Lu. My given name was Qiu, mound, the shape of my head when I came into the world. My mother had prayed for a son at Mount Ni, and my courtesy name, Zhongni, keeps the mountain in it. I was named for the place she went to ask. My father was an elderly soldier. My mother was very young. Their union was, in the language we used then, an irregular one. The household I grew up in was not the household scholars later wrote about. My father died when I was 3. My mother brought me up by herself in modest circumstances. She did not, for many years, tell me where he was buried. I think she was being careful. I was a child who would have wanted to go and stand there. What I remember of her is the small kitchen, and the lamp she kept low, and the way she hummed without knowing she was humming. She taught me the old songs. When I was small, I am told, my play consisted of arranging sacrificial vessels very seriously, as if for a ceremony. I taught myself the rest. I sat in on rituals when I could get close. I asked. I read what I could find. I am a transmitter and not a maker. That is a line my disciples wrote down later, and I meant it plainly. I trusted the ancients. Most of what I had to give was a thing I had received. I took a low government post in Lu. I rose to a higher one briefly. I had hoped to do something with it. The politics of that small state moved against me. I had wanted the senior position. I will admit, it did not come. In my 55th year, I left. I walked between the small, warring states for 14 years. A few disciples beside me, country inns, plain food. I hoped to find a ruler who would let me work. I did not find him. I was once recognized in a city by a stranger who said I had the forehead of a sage king, the neck of a great minister, the shoulders of a famous statesman, and from the waist down, 3 inches shorter than the emperor, disconsolate, like a wandering dog with no home. When this was reported to me, "He has hit the mark exactly," I said. "He is quite right. He is quite right." In Chen and Chai, we were once cut off in a season of poor crops. The disciples grew ill. Zilu, you will meet him in a moment, protested. I sat in the small room of the inn and played the chin. "A common man is demoralized in want," I said. "A gentleman maintains his character." I am not sure they all believed me. I went on playing. I came home in my late 60s. I had not been employed. I sat down to teach. This is my room. Let me show you the work that happens here. A pupil knocks. I open the door. I do not open the truth to a pupil who is not eager to know it. When I have shown one corner of a thing, if he does not return with the other 3, I do not go on. The teaching is in the corner I do not show. Yan Hui was my favorite. He could hear 3 corners after I had shown him one. He did not repeat a mistake. Zilu was the brave one. He needed slowing down more than speeding up. Zigong was the polished one. After I died, Zigong stayed at my grave for 6 years. I think about that often. Now, let me show you a corner of this work I have always found difficult. I have more than once given a different answer to the same question, depending on who was sitting across from me on this mat. A pupil asked me whether he should act on what he learned as soon as he learned it. I said, "There are your father and elder brothers. Consult them first." Another pupil asked the same question on the same day. I said, "Yes, immediately. Carry it into practice." A third pupil, a careful one, listening, was perplexed. I explained. Ran Yu is retiring. I urged him forward. Zilu has more energy than he can spend. I held him back. I have done this with the question of how to honor your parents. I have done it with the question of what Ren, benevolence, looks like. Different answer for different student. Different medicine for different ill. I am told this has been unsettling for those who came afterwards, trying to write down a doctrine. I will be plain with you. There was no doctrine. There was the student in front of me, and the answer he could carry. The teaching in the small room was not, at the start, what I had wanted to be doing. I had wanted the position. I came to the work the long way round. I did not write a book. There is no book of mine. What you have, the small books on bamboo strips, the words of the Master in numbered chapters, that is what my disciples wrote down after I was gone. They did not always agree. The book they made will tell you so itself, if you read it patiently. The same answer recurs in different forms. The same exchange has been remembered slightly differently by two pupils who were both in the room. I did not write the book. I trusted the words to the people who heard them. That is what a teacher does in the end. That is, perhaps, the only thing a teacher does. There were years when I felt no one understood what I was trying to do. I had to make my peace with that. I will not pretend it came quickly. It came late, here, in this small room, after the road, after the return. The work was not the position. The work was the room. My disciples used a word about me that I find moving in retrospect. They said I was cheerful. Of all the things they could have written down, that they noticed. With coarse rice to eat, with water to drink, and my bended arm for a pillow, I have still joy in the midst of these things. I said that. They wrote it down. I meant it. Riches and honors acquired by something other than right relation between people are, to me, like a floating cloud. I once said, they wrote that down too, that those who know the truth are not equal to those who love it, and those who love it are not equal to those who delight in it. The cheerfulness I came to see was the delight. The road taught me. I had not learned it from the books. By the time I came home to this small room, the cheerfulness and the room were no longer separable. What does it mean, the teaching in the small room? A teacher who knows one student well has done the work. A student who returns with 3 corners after being shown 1 has saved the teacher half his life. A small room is enough. A low lamp is enough. A bowl of rice that does not need to be finished is enough. What lasts is what someone heard, not what was written, what was heard. A teacher does not arrive at a position. A teacher arrives at his disciples. A teacher does not have an answer. A teacher has the student in front of him and the answer that student can carry. A teaching that is the same in every mouth has not been taught. It has been recited. A door that opens to one student at a time is older than any building. None of this is mine. I was a transmitter, not a maker. I trusted the ancients who had it before me. I trust those who have it now. They did not take it from me. I did not take it from those before me. We have all been the small room in our turn, with the lamp low. When you know a thing, hold that you know it. When you do not know a thing, allow that you do not know it. This my disciples wrote down. They called it knowledge. We do not often allow that we do not know. In any age, in mine, in yours. We want to be told. Few of us, and this is the harder thing, want to be asked back. We all want the answer that arrives quickly. We forget that an answer that arrives quickly is not the same kind of true as an answer that arrives in the form of a person we trust. They are not the same answer. In my long experience, they are not, in the end, the same kind of true. The room with one student in it is harder to find than it sounds. It asks the teacher for time, which is the rarest of the commodities of attention. It asks the student for patience, which is the second rarest. And it asks both of them to sit through the question that does not have a quick answer. A teaching that arrives across the heads of many is, for many of those many, useful. I do not deny it. But the answer that landed in someone's life was almost always passed to that someone in a small room with a lamp kept low, by a teacher who saw who was in front of him, to a student who came back the next day with the next question. I have watched ages come and go in the imagining of my disciples' grandsons' grandsons. I have outlived several. The room is older than the empire that contains it. I am quite sure of this. The empire wants every answer to be the same answer. The room cannot do this and remain a room. The empire is impatient with that. The room is not in a hurry. The room knows what it is for. We, all of us in this evening, those of us who are teachers, those of us who are students, those of us who have been both. We have been here. We have stood in the doorway. We have sat on the mat. We have asked the question that did not have a quick answer. We have answered slowly the one we could. It is late. There is a knock at the door. A pupil, I will not tell you which one. They were all my favourites at one moment or another. He has a question that has been bothering him since the morning's lesson. He will be apologetic at the door. He will not have eaten properly. I will let him in. I will let him sit on the mat across from me. I will listen for the question, and then I will listen again for the question under the question. I will answer slowly. I will watch him leave. He has gone now. I am alone with the lamp, and the chin, and the small bowl that has held a little rice. The Shi Jing is open at the page my mother used to hum. I had been writing, not a paper, just a list of the old songs in the order I learned them from her. I want them remembered. They will not need me to do this much longer. I think of her, late like this. The autumn light in the small kitchen of my childhood. The way she hummed without knowing. The sacrificial vessels arranged carefully on the small floor of my play. I think of the chin. I played a single piece tonight before he came. I played it badly. I have always played the chin badly. I have never minded. It was enough that the strings were under my fingers and the room was quiet. When I came home from the road, I thought I had failed. I had not. I had simply walked the long way to a small room I had been on my way to all along. The cheerfulness over plain food has been the great surprise of my life. I wish you a small room and a lamp that does not gutter. I wish you a question that arrives in the form of a person. I wish you a teacher who tailored the answer to you. I wish you a pupil at your door, late at night. I wish you the cheerfulness over plain food, which is not, I have learned, a small thing. I have shown you one corner. The rest is yours.